All right, let's do this. Today, we're taking a trip back in time to check out the sound of the Middle Ages. I know, sounds kind of old, right? Well, it is. But I promise you, without the inventions from way back then, your favorite song on Spotify simply wouldn't exist.
Just try to imagine it for a second. No phone, no headphones, no speakers. In the Middle Ages, music was always a live event. You experienced it together with other people, either in these massive echoing cathedrals or at loud, wild festivals. The whole vibe was completely different from how we experience music today.
So after the Roman Empire fell, the music scene basically split right down the middle. There were really only two extreme categories for music. You had your super holy, serious stuff, and then you had your party music. Anything in between? Nope, not really a thing. So on one side, you had church music. It was always in Latin, which, almost nobody actually understood. Its whole purpose was to honor God, totally serious, zero entertainment factor. And on the other side, you had secular music. This was in the language everyone actually spoke, used lots of instruments, and had lyrics about love, heroic stories, or, just having a good time. And I mean that literally. For centuries, the church completely controlled music. The only people who could read and write notes were monks and priests. They decided what kind of music was considered good and correct. Everything else was basically seen as unprofessional. So let's listen in a bit closer to what this official church music actually sounded like. The sound that really dominated the early Middle Ages came directly from inside the monastery walls. The magic word here is monophony, and it's actually really simple. Mono means one, and phony means sound. So one sound, that's it. All the singers sing the exact same melody at the exact same time. There's no second part, no chords. Just imagine a single floating vocal line. That's the famous Gregorian chant. And here's the wild part. They used absolutely zero instruments. None. Just the human voice. The only sound effect was the architecture of the huge stone churches. The singing would reflect off the stone, creating this natural reverb effect that made it all sound totally otherworldly. But then a few things happened that turned everything on its head. The Middle Ages brought us two inventions that were as revolutionary for music as the internet was for us. Seriously, no joke. The main problem was music only existed in the moment it was played. You could only pass it on by listening and memorizing it. And, as you can guess, that's a system with a lot of potential for error. Melodies would get changed over time, or they'd just be lost forever. The solution was genius. Write the music down. At first, it was just little hooks over the text, called neumes, that roughly showed if the melody went up or down. But the real breakthrough came from a monk named Guido of Arezzo. Around the year 1000, he invented the system with 4 staff lines, the direct ancestor of the sheet music we use today. Suddenly, you could save and send music like a message. As soon as people could capture music on paper, they started to experiment. The logical next question was, what happens if not everyone sings the same thing? What if we add a second melody? The development happened step by step. At first, they'd just take a well-known melody and lay a second voice part parallel to it. But soon, these parts became more and more independent until you had 2 completely separate melodies artfully weaving around each other. The result is called polyphony. It means that 2 or more independent melodies are playing at the same time, and yet they harmonize perfectly. This was one of the greatest technical inventions of the era, and it changed the sound of music forever. Music suddenly sounded so much fuller, richer, and more complex. Okay, enough of the serious church music. Let's change locations, from the quiet cathedral to the loud knight's castle. Because outside the monasteries, the music scene was a real party. These were the superstars and influencers of their day, the troubadours and minstrels. They were musicians, poets, and news reporters all rolled into one. They traveled from place to place, spreading the latest stories and gossip through their songs. And because they sang in the local language, everyone understood them and loved them. And they had a bunch of cool instruments with them. The lute, which is kind of like the great-grandma of the guitar. The hurdy-gurdy, a sort of violin with a crank that creates a continuous drone sound. And for the parties, of course, you had loud things like trumpets, bagpipes, and plenty of drums and bells to provide a solid beat. Because that's what a lot of this music was about, dancing and movement. Popular dances like the estampi had a strong, infectious rhythm. Music here wasn't some work of art to be listened to quietly. It was something to participate in, to celebrate with, and to forget the hardships of daily life. Okay, let's get to the point.
What does all this have to do with us today? It's simple. This era laid the entire foundation for the music we know and love.
Here are the milestones one more time, real quick. We start with a simple, single-voice chant. Around the year 1000, musical notation revolutionizes everything. That allows for the development of complex, multi-voiced polyphony, and by 1400, the path is clear for the next great era, the Renaissance.
So the three crucial building blocks we inherited from the Middle Ages are, first, the idea of writing music down at all, second, the principle of harmony through multiple voices, and third, the use of a wide variety of instruments to create different sounds. That's the DNA of almost every song today.
So, you could say the Middle Ages weren't the dark, silent time they're often thought to be. Musically, it was the giant training ground where all the techniques and tools were developed that Western music still uses to this day.
So the next time you listen to a song, pay attention. Do you hear different melody lines layering over each other? That's polyphony. Is the song built with a specific structure? That's only possible thanks to musical notation. So your favorite song is absolutely unthinkable without the ideas of a monk like Guido of Arezzo and all the other pioneers from that time.